Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video, and today I'll be doing a Q&A video, and I asked for questions on my Patreon and Instagram, so you guys left me a bunch here. Since I haven't done one before, I couldn't get questions off of the YouTube video, so I asked directly here and you guys sent them in, so let's get started. And I do apologize if I butcher anybody's name or pronounce it wrong. So, going from the top, Alex Fruit asks, how do you feel with the M9 gimbals? Do you recommend to change it? So he's referencing the FrSky Taranis M9 gimbals, which I have installed here into my Taranis, and I swapped mine out because my old stock Taranis gimbals were probably year and a half old maybe, and they were just in beta flight. You could just see they were jittering a little bit too much, and there was so much hype about these a little bit ago, and they're only $40, so I installed them there. They definitely do have more accurate readings. If you can tell, my quads don't drift nearly as much anymore. But in terms of overall feel, I mean, you can adjust them. There are springs inside that you can, adjust the tension just like most normal gimbals. But overall, it wasn't a huge upgrade for me. I know a lot of people say it's night and day difference, but for me, it was just kind of, it's nice to have. It's only $40. So I think they definitely are a nice upgrade, but definitely not necessary. So James May asks any suggestions on simulators. So if you are just starting out, I definitely do recommend getting on a simulator just to practice some of the very basics first. I know DRL has a decent one. Liftoff I tried a long time ago. I never liked it, but there's been a ton of updates since then. I heard it's pretty good now. I use Velocidrone to practice on a little bit. Not really practice, but more just have fun and play as a game. And also FPV Freerider, which is free. And that lets you just get a couple basics and to progress when you're just starting. FPV Jane says you want to build a 4S Micro. I have this guy. This is the X-Racer KL EX90. This is a 3S Micro, and I really don't know if there's that much point to going to a 4S configuration. I know because these tiny motors just really can't handle the current. I know if you get 1106 motors, they can almost do it, but still they're getting really hot. You have a lot of oscillations. I just don't think there's any point past 2 and 3S in this size of the class. MCFPV says you will try the new Infinity 1300 battery. I don't think I will. I just don't really try that many batteries. I have a lot of Tattoo R-lines and Turns Graphene, and they work just fine for me. I've seen that the Infinity 1500 version that you mentioned the 1300, but I've seen the 1500 do really well in bench tests. But the 1300, I've heard people saying that it doesn't perform very well. But I just don't really test out a lot of new batteries because honestly, batteries, there's hardly ever any advancements made, and I don't think it's worth trying out the newest batteries. Just get something that's a good value for you and your type of flying with the power you need, and stick with it, and just keep using them. Mr. Kubag says, what's your favorite prop for 5-inch, and what prop do you recommend for 600 plus gram 5-inch on 2205 motors? So favorite prop is a pretty hard question. These are probably my 3 favorite props right now. I have the HQ 5x4.3 V1S here. I'd say it's really light prop, very, very responsive, really good for light builds. I have the GemFan 5152, which is very high speed, but it definitely does pull a few more amps than the HQ, definitely more. And it will carry a little bit more weight around with it. And then the Cyclone V2, which is pretty much my general all-around prop. So I don't think there's one right answer in recommending a prop. I think you just need to try them out, because not only do you have to match motor size, motor KV, and build weight, but your own personal flight feel and opinion comes into it. So really, it's really hard, but these 3 are great general options to go with. And the Cyclone V2 is probably the most well-rounded prop that I've found so far. So maybe pick up a few sets of different kinds, including the Cyclone, and just see which ones work the best from you and go from there. SGM FPV says, what's your favorite quad setup and motor? So I don't really have a totally favorite setup, but my favorite setup for quad weight is about 230 to 280 grams. Anything within there I find just really performs well. And then for freestyle, you can go a little heavier, 300 to 350 grams. Any heavier than that, and you're really, I'd say, pushing it in terms of efficiency, because you're just going to be drawing more amps. For my favorite motor right now, it's the Brother Hobby Returner R3 2207 2550 kV. I found that just to put out really, really nice thrust, even power delivery, super strong, and doesn't totally destroy your battery. I think 2207 is a much better size than 2306, because you're not going to be, the 2306 adds more low-end torque, but it's so low in the power band, you're not going to really be using it. The 2207 adds more top-end torque, which I think is definitely a lot more useful in our applications. Ozatkinson4 says, what FPV goggles you would recommend coming from Box Goggles? I recently just switched. You've probably seen video on the Aomway Commanders, and they're working out just fine for me, but really, I don't know, it's kind of hard picking up goggles. I'm not a huge fan of Fat Shark just because their innovation is so slow. They don't make any changes hardly ever, and they're just so expensive for their goggles. I do have the Banggood, the Eachine EV100 coming soon, so hopefully that's like a $100 goggle. Hopefully that will be a decent beginner option, but really I'd say just ask around, and if you have any friends or anybody you know that flies that has goggles, ask them if you can try them out for a flight and just see what you like to get the field of view, or if you like 16:9 or 4:3, just see what you like. It's really hard to recommend a specific goggle for a specific person, especially because these Aomways, they're kind of a flat curve. They're not really curved up front, and they don't fit my face that well, but it's not super uncomfortable. But if these were more curved like the Fat Sharks, I definitely would like that. T. Germanov says how to tune PIDs from the black box. I actually don't do any black box tuning. I used to take a couple logs and look at it, but I didn't really know what I was doing, and I know Joshua Bardwell is known for a lot of his PID tuning, but he's kind of moved away from that too, because recently with new firmwares, new software, everything's just getting so much better. You really don't need the black box data. I'd say it's not really worth it anymore. And I know some people are going to disagree with me, of course, setting up notch filters, etc., but you know, just do what you do. But for me personally, I wouldn't recommend getting into black box tuning. HXCTRMRL, quite a name there. What ESCs do you recommend for a 3-inch 140mm build for flying on 3S? Probably maybe a 4-in-1 ESC. I have a HLGRC F425 tower. It's a 4-in-1 ESC and flight controller together that I'm going to be testing soon in a 4-inch build. But maybe DYS XS D20 amps, but those might be a little too big and heavy. Although I think there is DYS XSD 12 amps out new now that are really, really small that you might want to check out, so give those a look. Thumbs FPV says, how did you start with the hobby? So probably 2 or 3 years ago now, one of our friends while camping, he had a giant, I don't know, 600, 400mm hexacopter or something like that flying around. And as soon as I saw that, that was so cool to see. So as soon as I got home, I bought a little toy helicopter again and just went from there. I saw a quad online and got that. And then I saw people making videos and reviews and say, hey, I could do that. So I started from there and really just built up, and I am where I am now. Eat Kebab says, but do you floss your teeth? In case you don't know, that's Bob Ruge, the designer of the Hyperlight Floss. He's a dentist. I don't floss them as much as I should, but definitely in your videos, you've been telling everybody, don't forget to floss. I have been flossing more than I did before, so good job with that. Truel Snygard says, have you built a 1S brushless micro? No, I haven't, and I don't really plan to. I don't see much purpose in a brushless motor that small. I really think a brushed motor has more advantages in that such small of a side, and 1S, you know, I think just stick to a tiny whoop, something like that if you're going to go that small. Podbig says, what state are you in? Let's burn some packs. So I'm in PA, and if I remember correctly, he flies with Northside Pilots, which is in New Jersey. And hey man, I would love to come out to some of your races and meetups, but it's just 4 hours at least. It's just a little too far for me, because the closest things to me right now are about 2 hours. So unless it's like a special event or occasion or race, you know, I won't really be able to make it. But I would love to come out, and I hope to fly with you someday. Dennis FPV says, any recommendations on growing my YouTube channel? I'd just say, just try and be regular with your videos. Just put out a lot of content, and make sure, just try and think about what you're putting out. Don't just put out a random video, you know, with a lot of extra bad noise or something. Just try and make them as high quality as possible, and just, you know, keep putting it out, and people will catch on eventually. Definitely, when I started my channel, it took forever to even get like 10 views, so it's really depressing in the beginning, because you're putting out videos but nobody's watching them. But you know, maybe try to make them interesting, post a few links on Facebook and social media, and just try to get people interested, and then it'll just keep growing from there. Mr. Lambo 350 says, why does the quad just spin out of control and fall out of the sky? You might be having a desync there, where the quad just, you know, you're just going like this, and then all of a sudden you'll like drop a corner and just do a flip of death into the ground. But you also might have a motor stall, where your idle speed, which is when you arm how fast the motor spins, it might be too low. So try bumping that up by about 20 if you're still on like multi-shot or something like that that uses 1000, 2000. Try bumping it up 20, or if you're on D-shot, bump it up 2% and see if that fixes the issue. Otherwise, it might be firmware or ESC and motor related. It's really hard to troubleshoot a desync, and I found that it's one of the worst things to deal with in the hobby. Hempo Shellquist says, oh my gosh, that's a hard name. What is your inspiration when making vids, not just flying, but vids? I'd say that's probably you guys. I mean, I'm not really in it for the money or anything, or the exposure. I just really like it when I can post a video and then people start watching it and commenting. I just really find it really addicting to be interactive with the community, and it's just so nice to be able to fly and share it with others. I think that's the main reason why I make videos. Hi Flya ACAY says, when are the HQ 5048 props coming out? Not sure the exact date, but I think Pyroflip RC just got a shipment of theirs coming in soon, and Prop City should also have them soon, so probably like next week at the latest, but very, very soon. And that guy before that I couldn't pronounce his name, he's back with another question. I don't want to try that one again, but he says, what do you recommend to do when you have bounce back that can't be tuned out while adding a cap help? And he needs a capacitor. So really, I don't think that it can't be tuned out. You know, pretty much if you're having when you have a bounce back, let's just use this quad here. Say you do a flip here, you let go of the stick. If it kind of goes real slow like that, that means your P gain is too low. But if you go and it bounces like real quick, like real jittery, your P gain is probably too high or your D gain is too low. You kind of have to mix and match them together. So I'd say probably lower your D gain or lower your P gain a little bit and increase your D gain. But also, you know, to some extent there is, if you're gonna be moving the stick and you just go and just snap it back to center, you know, you're probably going to get some of that. But you can kind of manually tune it out yourself and fly around it. If when you come back, say you ease into the center just a little bit, just kind of smooth it out manually. That really helps. And you'll find a lot of good pilots, even if they have a bad tune on the quad, you can't really tell it because they'll manually smooth this stuff out, which is something you'll learn over time. Linus Sider says, do you have any other hobbies outside of RC? Not really. I mean, I play soccer a lot. We're just getting the season, so that's taking up a ton of my time. But I used to do model rockets, but pretty much it's just quadcopters all the time. Danny FPV says, what is your current charging setup? Well, let me show you. Okay, here we have the Turnigy Reactor Pro 2x300 watt 20 amp. The Turnigy Reactor Pro 350 watt 23 amp power supply there with 2 parallel charging boards, and then I just have a Turnigy TB6B charger for smaller batteries. Josh the Box says, where do you see the brushless micro industry going? Thoughts on brushless micros? I mean, they're only getting better and better once again with this KLEX90. If you showed this to somebody, you know, 2 years ago, they would just be blown out of their mind. Like, these things just fly so much better than they used to. But, I don't know, compared to a 5-inch or larger, even 4, 3-inch, 6-inch quads, they're just not the same. They're definitely different, but I think for sort of a racing perspective, indoors, maybe this would have a chance, but in all other areas, really just a 5-inch quad is going to smoke something like this, if we're talking about a race scenario. So, but I think people will keep innovating in the micro brushless space, but it's not something that I'm super interested in. Explode FPV, are you inspired by bananas?
Maybe.
Quad in order, will you answer my question? Yeah. But do you actually have any tips on PID tuning? And if so, will you make a video about it? I actually have 3, 4, maybe 5 videos. I don't even know how many, but I have a couple of videos on PID tuning for my ZMR 210. What was it? My mini quad called Fusion. A couple other quads that I'll leave a link down below. So yeah, I've already done a couple of PID tuning videos, but I will be doing an updated one soon since so much of Betaflight has been changed with the 3.2 coming out very soon. Danny Ho RCA Joe, have you happened to turn on any product sponsorship / product offer? If so, what was it and why? I turn down stuff all the time. Like, you would not believe how many people on Amazon or wherever they're from message me, email me about wanting me to make videos and stuff, and half the time it's not even related. Like, I get emails about like reviewing a nightlight off of Amazon, but there's a lot of extra quad stuff. But really, I try to accept the stuff that I'm genuinely interested in. If there's something that I know is not a good product, I'm not going to accept it. I don't want to show crap on my channel, and I have to be selective of what I choose to take anyways, because I'm getting so much stuff, I really don't have the time to deal with most of it, so that makes it even more selective. But once again, I just really only try to accept the stuff that I am genuinely interested in, as it makes for a much better video and flying experience. What was your setup when you got into FPV? Did you go all out on it, or did you go cheap? I actually did the ZMR 250 build that Bruce Simpson RC Model Reviews did videos on like 2 or 3 years ago now. It was really crappy. The ZMR 250 frame, DYS BE 1806 2300 kV motors, Simon K 12 amp ESCs. I got a Naze flight controller. That was probably the best electronics that I had in it at the time, but it flew like crap, but at the time I thought it was amazing. So, you know, it's whatever. The times have changed from now, and really, even if you get a cheap kit right now with the way things have been moving, you're still going to get a decent flight experience out of it. But I think for a beginner wanting to get into the hobby, I'd say try and balance yourself in the middle of the price and quality spectrum, because if you go super, super low, like $99 build, it's going to be kind of crappy. But there's no need to go to a $700 build when you're just going to break most of it. I'd say try to find a medium low point, as you'll still get decent quality, but it's not going to break your bank, and the durability on most of the parts will also be much higher, so you'll be spending less because you'll be breaking less. But also, once again, do a little bit of practice on a sim first, because that'll save you a lot of money as well. Booty Finder Rog says, will you ever go pro? I'm not really sure what go pro means, but if you mean something like the DRL, probably not. I'm not that interested in it. I like what I'm doing right now. But if some kind of opportunity presents itself, you know, I'll have to go from there. I really can't say what's going to happen in the next year or so. Nautilus FPV says, as a young pilot like myself, do you feel that this hobby has been more difficult to get into on a lower budget? And that answer is 100% yes. If you do not have a good source of income, just getting things to even just getting a quad working, it's just really hard because, okay, say you save up for your first build, you get it going, and then you break a motor, and you don't have any spares, and you don't have the money. You have to wait like a month to get enough money to get another replacement part for that. So definitely being younger in the hobby, it's really hard and really expensive for you. But if you compare it to something like car racing, where an entire part will be like $2,000, it's definitely a lot cheaper than that. So it has their ups and downs to being young. Ups is you learn faster. Insta Wizard says, how did you start flying line of sight or FPV first? Your recommendations for line of sight beginners. It's not easy at all. I started once again with the toy quads in auto level mode, flying line of sight. Didn't have FPV. Probably 6 months or so I've been flying the auto level toy quads, and when I built my first, that ZMR 250 I mentioned, I flew that auto level first, but then it just sucked because I tried acro once and it was like mind blown. Everything was so much better. It was hard to learn, it's hard to switch over, but you had so much more control. And I'm not sure going for a beginner line of sight is going to help you all that much, but it is certainly a good skill to have. And you can also do that on a simulator. It might not be as easy for you because, you know, the views are kind of weird, but you can do that on the simulator if you want to practice a little bit just to get a feel for it without breaking your quad in real life. Angelo FPV says, what is one of your one-year goals? And really not that sure, because in this hobby everything is just moving so fast. Every week there's 5 new props, 2 new motors, 4 new batteries, you know, everything's just going so fast. But I'd really say I'm just really into racing right now. I just really like how competitive it is. I'm not competitive in a mean way, I just, you know, it's fun to be able to race each other who can get to the other point fastest. So probably more into racing. Platinum FPV says, what's your favorite style of freestyle flying? Tight gaps and snappy tricks, huge dives and slow rolls? I kind of like the more tight, snappy flying. I'm not that big of a fan of, you know, super slow swooping, kind of like Ledrib style. I mean, he's a great pilot. I'm not saying anything on that. It's just not my personal favorite. I find something that like Mr. Steel, where it's real quick, real, you know, pumped up. I really like that. Or Tom Smith, man, I love his videos, so that's my type of flying. I don't always fly like that, but that's how my favorite type of flying is. I try to adapt to make different videos, just depending on how I'm feeling for the day, though. Yeah, 2752, what happened to your previous quad? I'm not sure which one you mean, because I have a lot of quads. Damon B FPV, how long did it take you to get your godlike line of sight skills? I honestly don't think I'm that good. I think I just have a good understanding of the basics and how things work, and I incorporate a lot of speed, but apparently a lot of you guys think I'm amazing or something. But definitely, if you haven't, check out Quad Mover and Beximus on YouTube. They're very good line of sight pilots, and there are much better people at line of sight out there than me. But I'd say just practice overall. You know, once again, I didn't have FPV for a while, so my roots are in line of sight. Just keep going out and flying. Just try it. If you're doing a new trick or something, try and get some height to it. So if you do, you know, end up upside down, you have a grace period where you can recover and not break everything. And definitely do it over long grass if possible. That's going to save so much of your money. Zozo says, motors for racing and motors for freestyle, and why? Do you take battery life into consideration? 100% yes. Battery consumption and efficiency is huge. especially in racing. If in freestyle, it's not as big, but it certainly is a big thing. But for racing, it is pretty much the main thing I think about. And once again, my favorite motors right now are the Brother Hobby Returner R3 2207 2550 kV, and I also have the Hyperlight editions, but they're the same motor on my freestyle quad, and I use that for freestyle and race. I pretty much just changed the prop up. For freestyle, I think you want something that's going to be able to be smooth, but really give you a nice grunt on the top end. Say if you're doing high throttle pop over trees or something like that. In racing, it's really not all about speed. A lot of people think, oh, get a 2509 motor, 2700 kV, and it'll be great, but you're not even going to make 1 minute of flight time. When in racing, you're more of the 50 to 70% throttle range. So efficiency is definitely probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest things in racing. If you're trying to push yourself, push your lap times, you need your quad to be efficient to get you through the race. Asraf Hakaman says, can you make a build video on iFlight IX2? I'm not actually sure what frame that is. I do have, iFlight is sending me the Race 1 motors they have, the 2306 2400 kV. I'll be trying them out on my Beast X build, as well as they said they were sending a frame. I'm not sure which one. Probably the IX5, I think that's their most popular one. I'm not sure if the IX2 is a little 2-inch, but I don't think I'll be getting that one. But check out the videos on those parts coming from them to get a sense if iFlight is decent quality or not. It's Dennis07 says, what motors would you recommend that have good speed and low on price? Race Day Quads 2205 2450 kV or the Hyperlight V2 Team Editions 2522 kV, same motor. I think these are absolutely fantastic motors for the price. Absolutely recommend this motor. And second, what would you do on your setup of a quad when you punch the throttle goes out of control? I'm not sure exactly what you mean, whether when you punch it sort of shakes real bad, that's oscillation. You can reduce your PID gains as well as increase your TPA. Or if you mean like it sort of like bobbles, like forward or backwards, that's iGain not doing its job properly. So you can increase, well, first of all, turn on if it's not already anti-gravity gain in Betaflight, and increase the gain of it in the CLI there. That'll help a lot. But if that's not your issue, leave a comment down below and I'll try and help you out. And thirdly, he says, as a young dude, how did you manage to get so many quads with no work and low on budget? And no offense to this, but really there's a lot more work than you think going into YouTube videos. Like honestly, I work 8 to 12 hours a day responding to comments, helping people, building quads, fixing quads, testing things, responding to vendors and stuff. Like, it's crazy. And I calculated how much I work back, or how much I make back through my YouTube earnings down to the day, down to the hour, and I make like $2 an hour. So it's definitely not a cash cow, and it definitely took me a long time to get where I am. So it's not just people are throwing out free stuff all over. You definitely have to work for it. But once again, I think just looking at what others are using and trying to find good quality, decent quality budget equipment, such again, once as this, it's really quality motor for such a low price. Finding things like this that are going to help you save on money, it just really goes a long way, because if you buy cheap, you buy twice. Thank you. Lastly, El Lento RC says, I learned so much from your PID tuning videos and keep up the good work. Thanks. So yeah, thank you. I'm really glad you enjoy watching them, and I hope they helped you get your quad flying better. So that was the end of this Q&A video. I'll leave links down below to the Returner R3 motors. I'll leave links to the props I mentioned. I'll leave some links to the simulators as well if you're interested. They'll all be in the description. I just want to say a big thank you to my viewers and subscribers, and especially to those who submitted questions. It really does mean a lot to me. And for the next Q&A video, leave a comment on this video, because I'll be going off of that instead of an Instagram post to continue forwards. So once again, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.